back. We had a sound issue. I did a 30-minute show with no sound. So that was a little frustrating. So today we're going to be doing a podcast about trucking and business in 2025. We're just shift gears here. What do we know about this current administration? What are the plans? So we need to break down trucking and business in 2025, the road ahead. So if you're jump on here, let me know if you got sound. Let me know if it sounds good. I've disconnected all my other Bluetooths so that we could have good sound here. So that's the goal. We're looking for good sound quality, and we want y'all to be able to hear this, and we want it to be good for everybody and great. So that's what we're going for. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to be here for. Whoa, we don't want that on there. Now you're going to be calling my phone, blowing me up. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. Let's see. How much can you make in trucking? Home daily trucking. So, one of the things I like to talk about in trucking is how much money you're making. It's important, man. So, one of the things that YouTube should be for is absolutely YouTube should be about making money, right? And it should be about not necessarily making money, but how do you add value? How does my channel add value to your life? So, what did I do to bring value to this creator economy? What has my education done that is different from maybe what you've done, so that I can share knowledge that I've amassed over the years so that you don't have to go out and spend years and years and years on education and college and all the money that goes along with it. Guess what? I've got over, I don't know, probably over $120,000 in my education. And most recently, I paid, 60 grand to get my MBA. I'm glad to say in August of 2023, I graduated summa cum laude with an MBA and a concentration in marketing. So that I hope adds value for you. And I want to talk to you about trucking and business in general because I think it's important. Why do people get into trucking to begin with? Well, I can tell you this. I worked construction from the time I was 18. I started out doing masonry work, and then I did that for 5 years. Man, I started out carrying buckets of mortar for block masons, and each bucket weighed like 70 pounds, y'all. I was only like 100 pounds soaking wet to begin with. So it was like, the work that I put in for masonry, and then I went from masonry to after that I did some siding work, and then I did siding, windows. Eventually I got into roofing, and I did roofing for, man, probably 15 years I roofed. And let me tell you, I was afraid of heights. So for somebody afraid of heights to do roofing, I needed money pretty bad, right? And I'd always been interested in trucking because I had all kinds of family that was in trucking, including including I had cousins that had their own dump truck companies. I had uncles who were truckers, and basically today we're talking about trucking, and finances. So that's what we want to talk about, trucking and finances. Trucking and finances. And 2025. So that's what we're going to talk about is how do you make money in trucking? I want to give you examples of how I made money in trucking. And if you have some experience with money in trucking, let me know what your experience is. Maybe you're an owner operator. Maybe you're a company driver. Maybe you're an independent owner operator. I'm curious to know, how did you get into trucking? Was trucking in your family? How much money you making? If you don't mind sharing, let me know. Hey, how you doing? There's this cool bully guy again. 120,000 college. Yeah, yeah, MBA, and I'm driving a truck. That's crazy, right? Yep. Well, 60 grand. So 60, probably about that. And most recently, I took out a loan for my MBA, about 60 grand. Now, you say that like that's a bad thing. So I'm curious, do you think there's no money in trucking? Because in the first 7 weeks of January, I grossed almost $1,000. So I don't know. I don't know what do you think average pay is for an MBA? Because I know doctors that don't make that much money. What's a doctorate pay right now? What do they make? 125, 150 grand a year for a PhD? So yeah, I'm driving a truck. Guess what? I own a truck, and I'm a small business owner. And yeah, I have an MBA with a concentration in marketing, and I spent 60 grand on an MBA. So I've made $38,000 in the first 7 weeks. So if I stay on pace with that, I'll make over $400,000 this year in gross revenue. Now, granted, there's a lot of expenses there, but let's see. How much money have you made this year already? I don't know. Maybe you made more than that. So I'm curious. What do y'all think about trucking? Is it worth it? So this for me is a stepping stone, and I would never judge somebody or question somebody on what they did in their life to get where they're at. This is by far the best money I've made in my life. Well, prior to this, my wife and I did OTR team driving. We made pretty good money. We were grossing $8,000 to $14,000 a week, which is pretty good money. But you also have a lot of expenses in there. So I'm curious why the thing about trucking. After taxes of 400 grand, putting 80 grand in the bank. I don't think so. I think you need to understand the tax laws a little better. So if you go S corp, basically S corp is a tax designation, and as an S corp, you can pay yourself a reasonable salary, and then you can take a dividend. Well, that dividend is not taxed the same as the reasonable salary, i.e., that's the reason why you see billionaires like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. They either don't take a salary at all, or like Mark Zuckerberg paid himself $1. So if it's unrealized financial gain or capital gains, it's not taxed the same because it's unrealized. So as an S corp, the business makes money, And as long as you're not taking it as income, you're not taxed at that really high self-employment rate. So at the end of the year, if you know you have a really high tax liability, and I'm a trucker, I'm not a financial advisor, but do your research. If you know at the end of the year that you have a really high tax liability, then what do you need to do? Well, you go out and buy some equipment, and then you have unrealized gains. So now you don't have to pay taxes on those unrealized gains. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Um, you know what? Fuel is a major cost. Taxes are a major cost. Everything is a major expense in trucking, insurance, and so many other things. But guess what? There's also a lot of tax write-offs in trucking too. If you're now a small business owner, so guess what? Your office at home becomes a tax write-off. Do you know how to write off an office at home? Well, you take the entire expenses for the house for the entire year, and then you take the square footage of the home, and then you take the square footage of the office, and whatever percentage of that home is used for your personal office, for your work office, I should say, not personal, then you multiply that. Well, first you would divide it, you figure out what the percentage is. So let's say 25% of my house is my office for my business. Now, 25% of everything I spent on that house for the year, the mortgage, the electricity, the gas, the maintenance, the insurance, and everything else that comes with that house, 25% of that is now a tax deduction. So if I put 40 grand into my house to live there for the entire year, then guess what? 10 grand of that is now tax deduction. Same thing goes for a work vehicle and a whole bunch of other stuff. What are you talking about?